From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Simon Marks. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov has admitted for the first time that a significant number of Russian troops have died on the Ukrainian battlefield. Nobel Peace Prize-winning Russian journalist Dmitry Muratov was attacked today. Red paint was thrown at him on a train, damaging his sight in one eye. And the Senate has voted to confirm Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson as the first black woman to join the U.S. Supreme Court.
Brought to you by Triangle Access Broadcasting, here's a look at the weather in the Oak 93.5 listening area. For tonight, partly to mostly cloudy skies with a chance of scattered showers and isolated thunderstorms, ending before midnight, low around 47. Friday, partly to mostly sunny and becoming breezy, high around 67. Southwest winds becoming 14 to 19 miles per hour. Friday night, partly cloudy, low around 42. Saturday, partly cloudy, high around 60. And the outlook for Saturday night, mostly clear skies, low around 38. Keep it here on Oak 93.5. I'm nowcast meteorologist Jim Vaughn.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're now tuned into Chat City with P. Ross. Conversations and interviews are in the queue. Listen or join in. Here she is, P. Ross.
Greetings, everyone. This is your host, P. Ross, and I'm welcoming you to my very first show, Chat City with P. Ross. In the building with me today, I have Miss Sibyl Russ of the Russ Group, real estate agent and broker associate. And also with us later today will be Cortez, Corky, Simpson, president of One Stroke Youth Development. All right, Sibyl, thank you for joining me on my very first show. It's such a pleasure to have you here with me today.
Thank you, Pauline. It was a pleasure inviting me to be a guest on your very first show. I feel so special.
Oh, well.
Thank you.
I'm delighted to have you here with me today.
Yes, my pleasure.
And like I said, later on today, we'll have Mr. Cortez Simpson in the building with us today. So, Sibyl, let's talk about what's happening right now in the news.
Yes.
Ketanji Brown Jackson, Supreme Court Justice.
Yes.
As of right now.
I know. How exciting. How exciting is that? I mean,
it's
wow.
Exciting.
That is a beautiful thing that, representation is very important, that everybody can see themselves here.
That's
everywhere.
Right.
Representation.
Right. Yes. I'm excited about that part too. I'm like, as long as you're qualified and you can do the job well as expected, hey, it's all right with me. And like you said, yes, it's nice to see a woman and a woman of color on that seat.
Yes. And she is well qualified and well spoken, very mild-mannered, and I think she will represent our country very well.
Yes, I believe so. We got prayers up for Ketanji Brown
Jackson.
So let's give her a hand clap on that. All right. Also, food prices are just soaring sky high.
Yes, they are. They really are. A lot of people, I don't know if you've seen it a lot, but a lot of people are doing their own gardens. Some people that have a lot of land, they're doing big gardens.
Yes.
But some are doing mini gardens, so.
Yes. I mean, you just have, imagine a family of 6 or 10 trying to shop nowadays.
Oh, yeah.
Especially if you're on a tight budget, You just have to be very careful about how you shop today. Now, some are fortunate and they don't have to worry about the pennies on the dollar when it comes to their grocery bill.
Right.
But, it's just we're in tough times.
Yes.
And hopefully, we won't be in it very long, you know?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So I'm hoping that, prices will start to kind of
dwindle down.
Yep,
right.
Yep, exactly. Along with these gas prices, which I think are also driving up the cost of the food prices and other things as well.
Yeah. So, but you know what? I was at a food court that houses food trucks on yesterday.
Okay.
And those places are not missing a beat at all. I mean,
no.
it looked like, that people had no problem with, coming out there and supporting the food trucks that were there, and their purchases, let's just put it this way. I have a little side gig that I do, and that's on a food truck, okay?
Okay,
And
good.
so, like I said, I saw a lot of people out there supporting those food trucks, and it didn't seem like it was affecting them in any way to
Right.
pay for any food that was offered there to them at the food truck. So,
And food trucks are very popular now.
absolutely. Yes, they are. Yes,
Very
they
popular.
are. Dr. Fauci, the director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infection, is saying, he has said on yesterday, that COVID cases are expected to rise again in the fall. Now, how do they come up with these predictions? I don't know. And I know we've got so many COVID-19 viruses out there. But basically what I want to do today is just remind everybody to just keep in mind that the virus is still out. It's still a new virus. It has all these little offsprings of viruses with it.
Right.
And you want to continue to just take your hand sanitizer with you. You want to continue to use your sanitizer wipes and sprays. Also, you want to be mindful of just this disease that's still out there that we don't know a
Right.
whole lot about.
Right.
So, just continue to follow the CDC recommended guidelines. I'm not one to push the COVID shot. I'm not one to say take it or don't take it. That's totally up to you.
Right.
But just be mindful of others that are around you.
Yes. Yes, definitely.
Yes, yes. Sybil, how was your week this past week?
It was a good week. I can't complain. It was a very good week.
Did you get tuned into any of the games that went forth on this week?
Yes, I did. I saw the heartbreaker, Carolina pushing for home state.
Yes,
But,
yes.
Yeah. But they did well. Shout out to Coach Davis.
Oh, yes.
Yes. I think there's a lot of good things to come with that team. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Now, I've mentioned before in the past that I'm a number one fan of Leaky Black, and that's number one on the UNC team. And he's a personal, his family are personal friends of mine. So, of course,
Okay.
I enjoyed watching Leaky. I just hate the fact that I did not get to go see him personally.
Oh.
All 4 years, I feel real bad about that. But
Yeah.
I think he has done a tremendous job, as well as the rest of the team, Tar Heel team. And I'm very proud of them. And Leaky is actually the reason why I started watching Tar Heel basketball again.
Okay. Okay.
Yes. So a big shout out to him if he's listening or watching. All right. As I mentioned before, we have, if you're watching us by Facebook, we have in the building with us today Mr. Cortez Corky Simpson. He is the president of One Stroke Development and Gang Prevention Program out of Fayetteville, North Carolina. And forgive me, I forgot to mention that Sibyl Russ is from Raleigh, North Carolina, or she lives currently in Raleigh, North Carolina. Welcome to the show, Corky.
First, let me say thank you for the invitation. It is an honor and a privilege to be here with you, P. Ross. I've sat and watched from afar how you have affected the community thus far, and I applaud you.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, so thank you for this opportunity. I apologize for being late. An hour trip just turned into like a 2-hour and 10-minute drive.
I know. The traffic out there is bad, isn't it?
It is.
Yes, it got bad. So I do apologize for that, but I'm more than happy to be here.
No worries. We're glad that you made it here safely.
Yes.
Corky, how was your week on this past week?
It was great.
Okay.
It was great. I was right there with you until you made the comment, Leaky is the reason why you started watching Tar Heel basketball. But yeah, I enjoyed that. His mother shared that journey with us as much as she could, and it was an honor and a privilege to, see it from that perspective.
Yes.
But I've been a Carolina baby since I took my first breath, so
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yeah. he mentioned, Corky just mentioned that Leakey's mom took a couple of steps with us. Corky and I are alumni of Winston-Salem State University, home of the Rams. Yes, so we had the privilege of being on campus with her at the same time. Well, we were trying to complete. I was trying to complete my education.
Well, I did too now. and I'll say she was actually Miss WSSU one year.
That's right.
Along with myself being Mr. WSSU another year, but she was one of our queens.
Oh,
yes,
okay.
yes, she was a beautiful person, beautiful family inside and out.
Carla Bridges.
That's nice.
Yes. Corky, we were celebrating Ketanji Brown Jackson. She was it's official now that she is a part of the Supreme Court.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we gave a hand to her on that. I can't find my claps on here on this. This is the new show, so I'm still learning around the board. So, but yes, and so we are excited about her being on the Supreme Court. Your thoughts on that, sir?
It was interesting to see what another sister had to endure, even today.
Mm-hmm.
And she faced it like a champ,
Yes.
She was definitely an example for not only my sisters but any woman walking the face of the earth. Should have been able to relate to what she was having to deal with. Okay, see, beyond the color of her skin and the content of her character is what overcame what they tried to do to her. But kudos to her.
Yes, absolutely. All right. So, Corky, what was your week like today? I mean, this past week?
It was great.
Okay, good.
It was great. My program is growing. Like you said earlier, it's One Stroke Youth Program. It's a youth development and gang prevention program, but we cut it down short,
Okay.
What I do is I try to teach kids how to play golf and live life one stroke at a time.
That's great.
It's a great program. God is allowing people to come in my life and cross my paths to help us grow, and I thank him very much for that.
Yes. We're going to get into that a little bit more into detail a little later. Any of you two watch the Grammys?
I did not.
I did not either, but I am guilty of watching Will and Chris.
Okay. Yeah, we're gonna talk about that too. Yeah, I wasn't tuned into the Grammys as much. I went by and I just glanced at it for a second, and I was like, nope, not what I want to watch this time. So I just let it go. But I was just curious to know if any one of you had paid any attention to the Grammys on this past week.
No, I didn't watch it either.
Okay. Now, going back into some more HBCU news, historically black colleges and universities. Were you aware that there was an all-star game that was played also in Louisiana on this past week?
I was aware of it.
Okay.
Prior to it, to the game. I didn't hear the results, to be honest with you. I haven't heard much. I'm friends with Deion Sanders.
Okay.
On social media, that is. And I see a lot, I see a lot from him. And yes, I was, but I hadn't seen any highlights. So.
Right. I was not aware. I'm guilty. I did not know until I was just flipping through channels and I saw that this, I was on Facebook and someone on the Winston-Salem State University alumni page mentioned that there was a story that this particular station was hosting on, or there was a mentioning of Coach Clarence Big House Gaines. And if any of you know basketball, you know Coach Clarence Big House Gaines is one of the statues of basketball. Yes. He is no longer with us, but he has left a very big legacy. And we had the opportunity of being on campus, Corky and I, with Coach Gaines. And, at that particular time, which was back in the 80s for me, 87, 88, 89, 90, during that particular time, I had no clue that I was on a campus with a legend. And he did not carry himself that way at that particular time. He just carried himself like a regular person, an everyday person. And there was a couple of times he came across my path, and if he saw a frown on my face or saw me down, he was quick to stop and say, "Hey, what's going on with you?" Or, "Did that boy make you mad again?" or something like that. He would say something to kind of lift my spirits. Not only that, there were several times I was approached by him as to why I'm not on the basketball team for the girls, because I stand 6'1". Young lady, why aren't you on our team? Do you even play basketball? Do you want to learn basketball? And I'm like, Coach Gaines, no, my basketball career is over. I left that behind in high school. So, but anyway, this particular game, it's something new, and they have divided, or they have brought together various historically black college and university teams to make up two teams. And the two teams are, one is called the Big House Gaines team, and the other one is the McClendon team. And that McClendon team is named after another famous basketball coach, John McClendon, who has also left behind some great records and a great legacy. So these colleges are divided into these two teams, and I believe yearly they will play a all-star game.
Wow.
Yeah. So
That is really nice.
That's big.
yeah. And so I think when I last looked at it, the McClendon team was the winner of that particular game, all-star game.
We'll get them next year.
That's right. That is right. All right. So on the Oscars, I know that's been in the news, and some people are probably tired of talking about the Oscars right now. But tell me what you wanted to say about that, Corky.
Oh, well. Things happen. That goes back to the name of my program, One Stroke. We have to make decisions one step at a time, because after every decision we make, there are consequences and repercussions. By no shape, form, or fashion will I throw shade on my man Will, because I'm the last person on earth has room to do that. But I truly wished he would have handled it different. Even though he felt like doing that. We always feel like doing that. We feel like doing that to people that we know we have no business doing it to. And not to say Chris is any larger a man or star than what Will is, but I just think or wished he would have stopped and thought about it again before he did that.
Yes.
He waited so long to win the award, and when he finally won it, he somewhat, for lack of better words, tarnished not only his name but the night because of something he felt like doing. So
Yes.
I'll leave it at that.
All right. And Sibyl, your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I think I think Chris handled it, very professionally and didn't strike back. I also think that, like you said, consequences. There are consequences, and I think Will is gonna suffer greatly. And I think that, he's probably sitting back thinking now, about how he can potentially hurt a lot of people that he employs. I mean, even future deals with family members, and like he has a new show on now. Well, he's produced a new show, and so all of those people may potentially lose their jobs, and their families are going to be affected just because of one incident of being immature or hurt or selfish. So, sometimes we just have to count or think about how we can handle a situation a little bit differently, count to 10 or just try to hold it together, It's not easy.
Yes, absolutely.
Will may have been the next Denzel. They're not going to give us but one or two of them. Okay. People want to say everybody has the potential, or everybody has the opportunity to become a big star like Denzel. No. Everybody has the opportunity to be one of the one or two that we're going to be to achieve. And Will may have messed that up. They may not have to give us one now for a while. Another Samuel Jackson. Okay? Because we don't see those fellas without them allowing us to see them. Because there's no big studio other than, was that Tyler Perry in Atlanta, where, we just solely run everything, the pictures from the door to the back to the front. We don't have that. So Will may have cost all of us. That's how I see it.
Okay.
I ain't mad at him.
Right.
But because of the position he in, that's the responsibility he carries.
Right. But, I'm one to believe that you can soar above, or you can start your own or whatever, just as Tyler Perry did. It took Tyler maybe some years to get to where he's at. So who's to say we can't have another Tyler Perry? And I understand what you're saying as far as Hollywood is concerned. And, I understand that. But, I totally get it.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying anybody can't become anything they want to become. By no means am I saying that. I am saying that the system is set up to allow a certain number of us to be that.
All right.
That's simply it.
Okay.
But on that note,
Yes,
too,
ma'am.
I think we, like in our society, we sometimes don't give people second chances either. And sometimes, well, that's just my opinion. Sometimes some people don't deserve, I think some don't deserve some second chances, but that's just my opinion depending on what they do. But in some cases like this, I think you can come back and, if you really are sincerely sorry and you show some remorse and change, I think you deserve a second chance. If he really and truly is sorry. Now, you just being sorry because you're losing a few $1 million, But I think it's a lot of cancel culture is what I'm trying to say. And some people make some honest mistakes that they didn't know or they didn't realize that they were being offensive. Sometimes I think people honestly do make mistakes.
Absolutely.
And they don't know any better. I mean, they don't know certain things are inappropriate or don't understand a certain culture or whatever. But so you just have to.
May I ask a question?
Yeah.
Do you think his apology was sincere?
I don't know.
I'm gonna say. Let me tell you my thoughts on that.
Okay.
I believe his apology the night of the awards was sincere.
Okay.
I don't think he meant to. I think he purposely meant to leave Chris out of that apology because I believe he was still in the heat of the moment at that particular time. So usually when you are in the heat of the moment at a particular time, you don't want to feel like apologizing to the person that you're having it out with.
Right.
Now, 2-3 days later, he came back with a written statement, I do believe. And I believe that was sincere because he realized what had happened.
Okay.
He had time to think about it overnight and another day,
I didn't read that. So
Yeah.
I can't.
Now, there was another apology supposedly from Chris Rock that was floating around on social media. And I believed that apology, only to find later that Chris had not issued any statements at all. So
I wish they would, though, both of them. Just,
Well, I looked at it on both sides, coming from both people. I felt like Chris should not have said the joke. At the same time, I'm sort of feeling for Will Smith at this time because, I have not read his book, but since Red Table Talk, I believe that's when he chose to sit at that table with his wife and discuss some deep issues that set himself up for things like what just happened at the Grammys. I mean, at the Oscars, excuse me.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think he did that in hopes of cleaning up what he did at the table?
I do. Okay. I really do.
Right.
I really feel like that was the case there.
All right.
And I do believe at that particular time there was the young man that Jada was involved with at the time. I think they came forth because this young man supposedly written a song with Jada in it. I don't know. I hadn't listened to it, or if I did, I forgot about it. And it's been a while. But so I just feel like they tried to clean that up. But some things you don't have to bring to the public eye.
Absolutely not.
Consequences happen when that happens sometimes. But it's all in the hands of the individuals.
Right.
But like you said, second chances. I believe that they all deserve a second chance.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Forgiveness.
Yes. I want to go ahead and get into our interview, but before we do, I want to make a statement that you are listening to Oak 93.5 WRLY, Raleigh, North Carolina, and you also turned into the very first show of Chat City with P. Ross. I am your host, P. Ross. The P stands for Pauline. You won't hear that again unless somebody says my name, okay? P. Ross, okay. All right. As I mentioned earlier in the hour, that we have two guests inside the Chat City room today, and that is Miss Sibyl Russ of the Russ Group. She's
and EXP Realty.
EXP Realty. Sibyl Russ of the Russ Group and EXP Realty. She's a real estate agent and broker associate here in Raleigh, North Carolina. And also we have Mr. Cortez Corky Simpson, president of One Stroke Youth Development and Gang Prevention Program, and he is of Fayetteville, North Carolina. It's a pleasure to have both of you in the studio with us today.
Thank you for having us.
All right, Sibyl.
Yes.
Sibyl. Let me ask you this, starting off.
Okay.
At what point in your life did you decide you wanted to become a real estate agent?
Well, back in the day. Okay. Well, really, actually, I wasn't really certain. I used to work at mortgage company by the name of First Union back in the day. Don't hear about them anymore because they changed over to Wachovia, and you don't hear about Wachovia anymore. But anyway, I worked for First Union many moons ago, and I had a position there that required me to get my real estate license. And so after a while in that position, I would just be sitting there twiddling my thumbs, asking my supervisor, what could I do? And at the time, First Union was pretty notorious for laying people off.
Okay.
So I thought, I might be on the chopping block soon.
Okay.
I decided to take a leap out on faith, and I decided to jump into real estate and never look back. So that's kind of what I did. Yeah. So it's been very rewarding.
Okay.
I've helped lots and lots of folks buy and sell real estate. It's very, like I said, it's very rewarding helping people in whatever phase of their life that they're going through, and it's very, very exciting.
Okay. Now, are there many women in this career?
Yes, it is. Many years probably before I started into real estate, it was a male-driven career. But now it seems to be probably a lot of women in it. I mean, it's I guess pretty even, but it seems to me there are a lot of females in the business. I guess one thing that attracts me to it is that I have a lot of flexibility. I can go see my sons. Well, when my older son was playing football and in this activity, band and everything, I could go.
Right.
I can just ease away from the office or a client and go watch them participate in different activities or volunteer, go on a school trip. So that's the beauty of being self-employed or semi-self-employed or independent contractor, I should say. And so that's the beauty of it. But you also work when everybody else is off, like the holidays, kind of like retail hours, like, you know, like Black Friday, 4th of July, when people are in town, when all of your friends are having cookouts, you're working because people come in from out of town, they want to look at houses, and you show them. That's when you work. When everybody else is off, that's when you work. But that's the beauty of the job. That's what I like about it. I can, you know, go and watch my children and be involved with them. So it also helped me out recently. My mother passed away. And I was able to, I had the flexibility to help care for her. I was able to, you know, take her to her appointments. I was able to stay with her some, you know, with my family. They helped me tremendously. And so, you know, so so I can say this, it has some good points about it, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, you're a graduate of UNC
Yeah,
Wilmington.
UNC Wilmington,
Right,
yes.
okay. And you said you got, but let me ask you this. What was your major?
My major was basically what we're doing, speech communication.
Okay.
And I kind of was leaning a little bit towards public relations, which I kind of sort of do on a day-to-day basis. Let me get it right. I did learn how to speak properly. I don't always do it, but I did learn that. But yeah, so that's what I majored in.
Okay.
There. Yeah.
All right. You have any, well, I was going to say, you have any second thoughts now that you're in the world of real estate? Do you have any, well, you still, like you said, you still doing communications in a sense when you're in real estate as well, right? Yeah.
Second thoughts about, not really.
No?
No, I mean, there may be other things that I would like to do, you know, in that maybe eventually, but, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Now, what steps do one have to take if they're interested in becoming a real estate agent, such as yourself?
Basically, they just go and take, there's a couple of ways you can do it. When I got my license, I went to I went to Wake Tech and I took the class. And it's been so long ago, I can't tell you how long it was, but they have like really, now you can go to different real estate schools and they have cram courses. You can get your license a lot quicker than what it was when I took mine. So it's they've streamlined it so much since I took my class.
Okay.
Yeah. And now everybody, when I initially got my license, studied to get my real estate license, I was a real estate agent. Then now everybody studies and they become a real estate broker.
Okay.
And you become a provisional broker, and then you have to work under someone, and you have to complete so many hours under a broker before you become a full-fledged broker. So yeah, so everybody is like a broker, but then you have to take certain steps to become to open your own brokership.
Okay,
once
so
you
I'm sorry. Could you tell us what is the difference between an agent and a broker?
Well, now in North Carolina, in other states, North Carolina, everybody is a broker, but now they have a broker in charge. So if you wanted to open your own real estate company, you would have to take a broker in charge class. And basically, just the difference is you have to learn how to manage other agents. You'd have to learn how to manage a trust account where you handle money. And that's basically the difference it is. You'd have to learn how to manage other agents and manage an office.
All right.
Yeah.
Do you also assist with commercial properties?
I can, but I prefer to deal with residential properties. But yes, you can do that.
Okay. Sibyl, there a lot of times now in this day and age, we hear a lot about gentrification. Can you tell us, as a real estate agent, what you have seen with gentrification and how it affects certain communities?
Yes. So basically, yes. So gentrification basically is, for a lot of people probably hearing that term, and usually it is thrown in a negative way, but it isn't always. But it's usually where a neighborhood is going through changes. It's usually where a working class neighborhood changes into a more affluent neighborhood. It starts to change, whereas builders or investors come in and they build it up and start to develop it. So as an agent, I've been on the end of seeing where it has helped the developer, and I've seen where it's hurt the people that are living in the community. So there's some things. There's some things you can do. I guess how you can a neighborhood could kind of bounce back from that.
Okay.
Repeat the question a little bit because I kind of got thrown off.
That's okay.
I have a question
Yes.
in reference to that.
Go ahead.
When you say neighborhood bounce back, is that after the people that were there are gone?
Not all of them. No. Well, some of them are still there.
So you're saying what they allowed to remain there after the transition?
Some of them are still there.
They can gather together and do something. Okay.
Yeah.
What we need to find out is what is it we can do before they come in and displace all of those people in that area.
Right.
Regardless of how much money is going to be made in the area, regardless of how much each property will be bought for, we need to see what we can do for those that really want to keep theirs.
Right. I think that's a very good idea, and I think that's a very good question. That's right. And what I suggest is one way to do that is to kind of come together with in your community or your subdivision or whatever, and just kind of have a community committee, have some meetings, kind of come up with a plan of what you would like to see for your community. Okay. There are abandoned homes. Some are, some are just abandoned. Some could be renovated. Some are, condemned, should be condemned. Some maybe people are looting, squatting. They need to be torn down, or, so you have to identify those properties to see which could be rehabbed and which need to be, torn down. The ones that are worth saving, maybe there needs to be a group in the neighborhood that comes in and maybe tries to buy those properties and fix them up themselves, or ask the homeowners if they could. If they're not local, most of them aren't local. Their children have moved on or something like that. You may be able to take vacant land and make a community center, parks, playgrounds, little basketball court, tennis court. Shouldn't be hard to make. Build with some. There's different things that you can do to bring the value up with just, you'd be surprised if you can get just, get the people together, some support. Those things, I mean, could be easily done if you can just get the money and the numbers.
Those are great ideas. Let me ask you this, Sibyl. What advice do you have for first-time home buyers or people that are living in apartments at this particular time?
Right now, I would suggest that they go ahead and try to buy, because the market is extremely competitive. It is extremely expensive, and it's just going up every few months, the prices. I've even noticed where since January, it's only been like 90 days and the prices are continuing to rise. So my recommendation would be to reach out to a mortgage lender or to a realtor that can recommend someone and get pre-approved. That's the first thing you should do. Okay. And see what you can qualify for. For instance, here is an example. I showed a house back in March here in Raleigh in March of 2019. The property was about 2,300 square feet, and it sold for $223,500. In the same subdivision in July of 2021, a similar home in the same subdivision with the same square footage sold for $360,000. So in about a year and a half, it increased a similar home increased $136,500. Okay. So that person that bought in in March of 2019, roughly has about $136,000 in equity. Oh, wow. So they're $136,000 richer than in just a year and a half. So where can you make that kind of money in a year and a half? I mean, that's just crazy. I mean, 2 years, 2 years. So I'm just saying that, that's just how crazy the market is. It just makes sense, and rents are going up as well. You just need to save your money. It's a bidding war, but there's some programs, and there's some different there's some programs out here. There's some competitive mortgage lenders that will help buyers get into homes. So
okay, yeah, thank you for that. And real quickly, Sibyl, if one wants to get more information from you, how can we contact you?
I'm on Instagram at Sibyl Russ, and you can look me up on Sibyl Russ at Sibyl Sells Raleigh Real Estate on Facebook as well.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Also in the house, as we mentioned, we do have Mr. Cortez, Corky Simpson of Fayetteville, North Carolina. He's also the president of One Stroke. If you're just now tuning in, you're listening to Chat City with P. Ross on Oak 93.5 WRLY, Raleigh, North Carolina. Thank you for tuning in. You're listening to our very first program. Mr. Simpson.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell us what One Stroke is.
One Stroke is a program that hopefully takes our youth and helps them to slow their lives down, to quit being in a rush, to understand, like I shared earlier, that every decision they make has a consequence and a repercussion. one stroke builds a relationship, if I can say, with that voice that a child hears. Okay? Us as parents, we say, boy, don't you do that while they're in the house. And expect them that when they go down the street and somebody confronts them with that very same thing they've been told not to do, mama is hoping that a voice comes to him and says, you know your mama said don't do that. But she ain't told him nothing about that voice. Because it's going to be another voice that's 10 times louder than that one saying, man, go ahead and do that, man. You know? So I build a relationship between my child or the youth, the children in our program, and that voice they hear. You know, I have a little thing, you know, I taught school for 13 years. And I would go into the classroom on the very first day, and I would go to the chalkboard, and I look at the chalkboard, and I say, Mr. Chalkboard, I don't know none of these children behind me because it's the first day of school. So I don't know no name to call, but I bet you when I turn around, they going to be quiet, sitting in their seat, pen and paper ready, mouths closed, ready to go to work. I bet you, Mr. Chalkboard. So I hear the shuffling going on. They getting ready. And I turn around, I say to them, now, I didn't call anyone's name. But when you heard me say to the chalkboard that you were going to have your pen and paper ready, a small, still voice came to you and said, get your pen and paper ready. And when I said your mouth was going to be closed, that same voice came to you and said, close your mouth. Now, there were some voices that say, oh, forget him. He crazy. He talking to the chalkboard. But no one in there would listen to that voice. And what they would display to me is that they had the ability right then to recognize the right voice. So whenever they were around me, in my classroom, on my basketball team, or my football team, I expected them to listen to the right voice.
Okay.
That's what one stroke is.
All right.
Yes, ma'am.
That's great.
Thank you.
Now, at what point in your life did you decide to get involved on that level?
I taught for 10 years first in Fayetteville, and then got into radio. Much more money, working for Beasley Broadcast, and there was still a yearning in me to work with kids. And there are numerous of basketball programs, football programs, baseball programs in the hood for my little brothers to play. But I wanted to introduce them to the game of golf, because the game of golf would open up their world to opportunities that normally they would not be exposed to.
Right.
Just from knowing the knowledge of the game. Is it fair? No, it's not fair, but it's life.
Yes.
They keep a lot of secrets on the golf course. Okay? A lot of people's lives have been determined by judges and lawyers and DAs on the ninth hole. Okay? So I want to show you something. You may not be Tiger Woods, but you may enjoy it. But it will expose your life to something. I'm going to share this little story. Lord, no, I know my family like that boy preacher. Look here, I'm going to share this little story. I had two young men in the mall walking around with hats turned backwards. They went to walk to the escalator, and they were two African Americans, and there was a family, a Caucasian family coming from the other direction, and the gentleman caught his family and held them back so that the two young men could get on the escalator. Now, I would have done the same thing if I'd had my kids and they'd have been walking at me, okay? But when they got on the escalator, the gentleman got on the escalator behind them and saw that their hats said Tightless and Ping.
Tightless and what?
Ping.
Ping.
P-I-N-G.
Okay.
Those are golf brands.
Yes.
So he asked him, what do you know about that? So when they got down to the bottom of the escalator, they were able to hold a conversation with him about golf and the program they were in and what they had learned, and what he started asking them questions. Well, on the part this, what would you hit? And they were able to answer those questions. That man offered them a job at his car wash over the summer.
Okay.
The game opened up the opportunity.
Now, let me ask you this.
Yes, ma'am.
The church,
Mm-hmm.
do you feel it's failed its community when it comes to young boys
Ooh.
that are in crime?
Ooh, that's a heavy one. I was raised in church, from morning to night. Everybody in my family preach. I feel as though we all have fallen short. Not just the church, because it ain't totally the church's responsibility.
Right.
But all of us in one way or another have fallen short. See, the church is just the easy one to point at.
Mm-hmm.
Because they the ones that don't mind saying, oh, we good. Mm-hmm. At least we supposed to be good. See, you got other groups that don't yell that.
Right.
But they just as responsible.
All right.
Yeah.
Do you feel that the school system could be doing a better job?
So, I substitute in a math class at Spring Lake Middle School a couple of years ago. And it was a math class, and I put some math equations up on the board, 2 and 3 digit multiplications and some division, and told them don't take the calculators out. Mm-hmm. So many of those children went home and complained to their parents that the principal came back the next morning and said, hey, you have to give them a calculator. Mm. You cannot expect them to do that multiplication right there without some type of gadget in their hand. Uh-huh. I knew that was too much for me right there. I knew that the system had gone a little bit too far from me. When you telling me that all them multiplication tables that I got in my head popped in the back for because I couldn't learn them and had to sit down and write them all night long down that piece of paper, my mama and knock me in the next week if I ain't learned that. You tell them they don't even got to know it. So, our education system has definitely, it has let us down.
Okay, let me ask you this. Mm-hmm. One Stroke, is this something that's just located in Fayetteville, North Carolina, or is it abroad?
Well, right now I'm actually trying to create a catalog, instructional type manual. I was invited a couple of years ago to the North Carolina after school program where all the after schools come up there in Raleigh and, they do the thing. Uh-huh. And I presented One Stroke, and the gentleman that was over the entire program came to me and said, look, you have a great program, but you can't be in all 100 counties at one time. Uh-huh. We need a manual. We need something that we can actually send out to people so they can sit down and read it and be able to, administer your program. Yeah. So I'm actually settling down enough in my life now to where as I'm concentrating on that. So basically, to answer your question, One Stroke is wherever I am right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, how can others get involved with One Stroke?
Oh, volunteer in a lot of different ways. Up here in Raleigh, thank you for asking that, P. Ross. We have 2 or 3 concession stands over at the amphitheater. Where we need volunteers to come out during the concerts and help us, run our concession stands. We get a percentage of what we bring in. We also have a concession stand in Fayetteville at the Woodpecker Stadium as well. And we need people to come out and do the very same thing. To be honest with you, because we are in the business of blessing others so that we may be blessed, we are going to offer those that come out and spend time out there with us to help us. We're going to plant a seed with them. I'm not sure if it's going to be $50 or $100 or something like that, but we're going to plant a seed back into those that planted in us.
Oh, okay. That's nice.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. And let's see. Now, I kind of glanced on your Facebook page the other day. I see that you were hanging out in Pinehurst. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Can you tell me a little bit about that visit there?
I worked over at Pinehurst for a number of years. Actually, I was born in Pinehurst. You know what I mean? And that land that you see me clearing, and that was one of the reasons why I asked you the questions, because Miss P. Ross is working so hard in the community where I am actually going to go back and build my home. We're dealing with certain situations like that right now, but she's working diligently. That group you kept referring to, she already has it in place. Okay, so that's what that seed was for. But being in Pinehurst, no matter where I've been, P. Ross, and all the working I've done, the traveling I've done, you know, from one side of the United States to the other, working for whoever it may have been, those woods over there in Eastwood, now called West End, has always been my home that I thought about wherever I was at. You know, my mother lives in Fayetteville now, and of course her house will always be home, you know, but that area right there is where they brought me home from the hospital to.
Okay.
So the first 3 years of my life is memories that I have right there, and, you know, throughout my childhood, somebody lived there, and I always went back to that place. So, you know, Pinehurst, I caddied at Pinehurst for a few seasons, and I know we ran out of time. This is my last story. My boss, my caddy master, said, "Cortez, your player is out here." So I come out of the caddy shack, and there's a gentleman standing with his back to me, and has his arm around another caddy. And my boss walks up to him on the other side and said, "No, that's not your caddy. Cortez is your caddy." And he turns around and looks at me. He's an 80-year-old man. You know. He said, "Oh, I got a big old jumping monkey today. Ooh. Are we playing basketball or are we playing golf?" I said, "Sir, we're going to play golf today, and when we finish, if we want to, we can go shoot some ball, but I'll be back in a minute. Give me 1 minute." So when I walked away, another brother that happened to overhear him say that said, "Did he say what I thought he said?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Go tell Jimmy you don't want him. Don't go out with him." I said, "No. For the devil to use that ace card on me is something he's trying to keep me from." Because the man didn't say it in a derogatory manner. Old man. He just said it. It just came out. So by the time we coming up to 18th fairway there at Pinehurst number 2, the man looked at me and said, "Cortez, how much is that land in Fayetteville that you're trying to buy to build that golf course?" I said, "I don't quite know, sir." I said, "It's 20 acres. He said, "Well, it's probably going to be about $5,000 an acre. That's $100,000. Write it up and send it to me."
All right.
Now, he didn't send me no check, but it was just the fact that I was able to get that relationship to that point, so that he wouldn't think that way about all of us. That's what Pinehurst means to me. I got to keep going back over there.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm sorry to cut you off, but that ends our show at this particular time. We thank you both, our guests and our listeners, and those that are tuned in on Facebook watching us this evening, for tuning into our very first show, Chat City with P. Ross. Thank you very much, and have a great evening.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great show, P. Ross. Great show.
Thank you.
Thank you for letting us share your first one. Great.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've arrived in Philadelphia.
This is DJ Dessert. Make sure you tune in every Thursday from 7 to 9 on the Hot Grill Show on the city's hottest radio station, Oak 93.5.